I heard a story today that you are likewise going to want to hear, I promise you, and I need you to like and comment and reshare this video so that it gets out to the algorithm. I especially am hoping that folks who are attorneys and Oregonians will see it. But really, like all of y'all, need to know what's happening in Douglas County, Oregon. I was replying to folks in my YouTube comment section when I noticed that somebody had dropped a link and was like, hey, can you please look at this developing story? So I clicked over. It was a YouTube channel with just a couple of subscribers and only 2 videos, one of which had been posted 37 minutes before I saw it. The video was from a lovely woman named Melissa, who is the safety lead for Douglas County Indivisible. She recorded a phone call that she had with Roseburg, Oregon police today, July 8th, 2025. And I watched that video. I wanted to scream. I wanted to punch the wall. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. I got her permission to share the entire video here. Douglas County Indivisible is asking for your help. If you could please watch this entire video, and especially if you are an attorney or you have any advice that you can offer, please reach out to them. You can send them a message at indivisibledouglascounty.org. Douglas County Indivisible is in a deeply red part of southern Oregon, and they had a protest in Roseburg. Around 200 people or so showed up to the peaceful demonstration, and their Indivisible is much like mine, largely made up of elderly folks, disabled folks. So as they're peacefully demonstrating, a chuddy and a coal roller comes by. If you don't know what a coal roller is, it's like a big lifted pickup truck where they put a special smokestack out the back and belch a bunch of special dark smoke out of it. They think they're owning the libs with that. It's like a fuck you to environmentalism, proud to be a polluter. They were very popular in like 2020, 2021, so a little cringe to still be doing that. I mean, it was always cringe. So this dude comes by in his coal roller and he blasts on a speaker as he passes by the protesters a recording of semi-automatic gunfire. And a number of the protesters panic. People hit the ground. They thought they were experiencing an active shooter event. An elderly member was clutching her heart. Folks were initially worried she maybe was having a heart attack. I don't know how that was something other than inciting panic. So obviously the safety team, of which Melissa in this video is the lead, felt that this was something that she needed to bring to the attention of law enforcement. To me, that sounds like screaming fire in a crowded theater, driving by a group of peaceful protesters and playing semi-automatic gunfire at them, simulating an active shooter. What kind of response do you think that those protesters are going to have? What kind of danger have you now put people in? Now, before I play Melissa's video recording of her conversation with Sergeant Cody Inda from Roseburg PD, it's important that you have a little bit more context. Okay, it's now July 9th, the next morning. I'm sorry that I didn't get this video out last night. TikTok decided to eat a large portion of what I had filmed, and I was just exhausted and decided to put it aside and come back to it this morning. So you do need one more piece of context before you watch that phone call with law enforcement. Roseburg, Oregon is the site of the largest school shooting in Oregon's history. In 2015, Umpqua Community College had an active shooter event where a professor and 8 students were killed and 8 more students were wounded. This is a community that has been traumatized by gun violence, has been traumatized by an active shooter. And I think that's a really important thing to understand when you are looking at someone in this community who is simulating an active shooter event at a crowded protest.
Yeah, what can I do for you?
Well, you've probably spoken to Officer Schultz, and I'm calling because we are wanting to make a complaint of a terroristic threat against our organization. And I'm hoping that you can help us with that.
Okay, what is your organization?
It's called Indivisible Douglas County, and we are nonviolent, peaceful demonstrators. And I've been in contact with the chief about this, and he was very supportive of our June 14th event. He was there and helped us get a coal roller, which we were so grateful for the entire Roseburg Police Department's assistance that day. It was wonderful. But we had a couple of really disturbing things happen this past Saturday, one of which I just became aware of today. And it was that one of the coal rollers, who we even have video and license plate information, but we were told there's nothing you can do. Fine. But this person repeatedly drove by projecting the sound of automatic gunfire. And we are largely made up of elderly people, of veterans, some who are disabled on oxygen. We had people thinking there was an active shooter situation. People diving for the ground, running for cover, screaming in terror. because this person was projecting at a very loud volume the sound of automatic gunfire. Now, I have done some research, and according to the Oregon code, making a terroristic threat, which is a Class C felony, is defined by the following: intentionally causing fear or terror in another person by conveying a threat to cause unlawful, serious physical injury or death to two or more persons, one of whom is the other person, in a public place. And I will repeat that we had people who took this to be an active shooter situation. They were terrorized. We had people clutching their hearts afterward. We thought people were having heart attacks. This was an act of terror. And I want to know why Officer Schultz was so completely dismissive, that no, we weren't being terrorized, that no, the sound of automatic gunfire being played at us from a passing pickup truck, that we're supposed to know that that's not real. And I also want to say, if one of our members who is armed were to return fire to the sound of automatic weaponry, I mean, that would be a worst case scenario for everyone. I think this is incredibly dangerous. And
I think a couple things. So we're getting into a different topic, so I want to address the first one first. Is that okay?
that's great. Go ahead.
Okay, so what is not in the terroristic threat ORS that you just read is the definition of a threat. So what you have is causing public alarm, which would be a disorderly conduct. So to fit the threat portion, there's several other factors that have to be met. It's similar to, I don't know if you're familiar with much of many other ORSs, but like say menacing, where menacing is intentionally trying to place someone in imminent fear by word or conduct, right?
Would this fit menacing then?
No, because there's several factors that we look at to fit, and one of those is, like, say, if someone came at you with a knife, or like held a knife up above their head and said, "I'm going to kill you," or "I'm going to stab you." Those are specific threats.
So
right?
the sound of automatic notes.
Hear me out for a second. The intent means an opportunity. If those things are there and they fit what physically happened, then yes, that would fit a menacing. But like basically what he did would more or less be disorderly conduct, and that would be causing public alarm by the same word or conduct or whatever.
So it's not menacing, even though he's driving by slowly, projecting the sound of automatic weapons, automatic gunfire, and we have people ducking for cover, running for their lives because we don't see a gun. It's not menacing? Do we have to wait until he brandishes a rifle before it becomes menacing?
No, not necessarily. And depending on the situation itself, it could not. The other part is, maybe is vaguely or may stretch to reach that level of crime. We have to use reason as well. Do you want to charge someone with a felony because they drove by playing the sound of gunfire?
Yes, I do, actually.
Crime?
I do. In America today, when we are standing out there thinking that people might take shots at us at any time, and someone rolls by and pretends to be an active shooter, yes, I do want to press charges against that person. You bet. Where is the deterrent factor?
So you may not, but you weren't the person there. And how come? And
I was there. I just was at a different part. And the fact that it's delayed is because our group is very large, and we had our after action meeting today, and I am the safety lead, and I did not know of it because I was in a different part. But I don't think this is where you want to blame the victim.
I'm not blaming the victim. I'm telling you that we have to fit ORS to be able to act on and enforce a crime. And, if anything, I would say we could maybe look at it and say, could this be a disorderly conduct? It's possible.
Okay. How do we go about doing that?
Well, I don't know what sort of evidence you have. You said there's video and you have license plates and things like that.
And I have many people willing to testify.
And who has the video?
I don't know that we have video of him rolling coal. As far as the video of the gunfire, I'll have to see if we have actual video of that. But we have probably 24 people who are willing to testify to the action.
problem with that becomes is you guys aren't all independent, you're all one group. And so if there was like, I'm not discounting or saying that they're lying, but to be able to prove this something beyond a reasonable doubt, that's why we interview people separately so they can't get their stories right?
That's great. I'll give you a list of people that you can interview separately. Like I just said, No, we haven't. No, we haven't, because I just found out about it today. So I don't even know who all was affected by it. So no, we haven't met and gotten some story straight. I just found out about it today, and I'm incensed.
You're acting like I'm coming at you, accusing you of lying. I'm trying to explain.
Well, that's what it feels like.
Well, you don't let me talk either.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. I was explaining the reason we do that is it helps to have individual, separate, unrelated witness accounts, and nobody else called in, right? You guys didn't even call in. And so that makes it difficult as far as, like, credibility in a courtroom setting. Like, if you and your best friend come up or there together and have the same story, but if you and your best friend are there and have the same story, and then an independent witness.
Okay, I just want to interject that you think we all know each other. We don't. I'm standing here with my mother, who witnessed it. She was standing next to a woman she had never met, and that woman was the one who clutched her heart. My mom thought she was having a heart attack, and the woman thought she was taking gunfire. So you think we all know each other? We absolutely do not. That's what you sounded like.
You're latching on to one little thing I say, and then you want to respond, so you listen to anything else that I say. So we can look into this and see if we could reach the level of probable cause to arrest somebody for this. But if there's no video of the gunfire, it's going to be very difficult. That's ultimately what I'm getting at.
Well, I'm not even talking about arresting. I mean, just ticketing somebody. I think there should be some level of deterrence in saying, you know what, you don't get to go around projecting the sound of automatic gunfire at people you disagree with or at anyone. I mean, we have
to reach probable cause regardless of whether we release somebody or take them to jail. The arrest is the same.
But I'm talking about you're talking about a public disturbance misdemeanor.
No, it's disorderly conduct, which would essentially be, disturbing a lawful assembly, basically creating a ruckus for lack of.
Disorderly conduct is not a felony.
No.
So there's a lower bar, a lower threshold to meet.
There's no lower bar of whether we have to reach probable cause or not. We have to reach probable cause whether it's a C misdemeanor or an A felony. That does not change.
So the testimony of a couple dozen witnesses doesn't reach that threshold?
Okay, so say we have 100 people, witnesses. They all say the same thing. This blue truck drove by and it was playing loud music. Okay, great. Now who was driving? Who was controlling the music? Who was the passenger? Who was the two passengers in the back?
We have the license plate.
Okay, but you just said you didn't have video of anything but the rolling coal. All the information was about rolling coal.
It's the same driver. I told you we have dozens of witnesses who can attest to that.
Okay.
I mean, I just want to ask you this on a personal level.
How do we confirm or prove
through testimony
beyond a reasonable doubt who the driver was?
Through the license plate.
Okay, but has anyone ever driven your car before? I'm saying this has to be proved beyond a reasonable doubt.
And I'm asking why you're so reticent to follow up on this.
I'm not.
If it had been a hit and run, it wouldn't matter you'd have a license plate number and you'd pursue it.
You're confusing on whether we will try to take action versus what action we will take. You've been arguing with me about why it's not a felonious terroristic threat, and I'm explaining to you why it would be more of a disorderly conduct and what level of threshold that we have to reach to be able to arrest somebody.
No,
not whether we're actually going to try to do something. And
no, I defer to you.
That's
I mean,
what I'm trying to explain to you.
Yeah, if it's
you're taking that hesitancy to act, and I'm trying to explain all of these questions that you keep asking me, and trying to help you understand what parameters we have to operate in, and you're not letting me. You're confusing the two with you're getting upset and saying that I just don't want to take action.
Okay, well,
trying to understand what we can and can't do.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So for disorderly conduct, what are the parameters?
Well, we have to reach a level of probable cause to arrest somebody, regardless of the crime.
And
Okay?
disorderly conduct is an arrest. It's not just a misdemeanor.
This is where we're a little confused too, is that all of these are crimes and all of these would result in arrest. The level of crime dictates, right, is you're confusing the level of crime with actually being arrested. You can be arrested for any crime. The consequence, or I guess the sentence of that crime, or severity, is depending on the action, right? And that's why there's different levels of, like, say theft 3 is under $100, theft 2 is over 100 but under 1,000, theft 3 is over 1,000, and that would reach a felony. The other two are misdemeanors. Does that make sense? That there's different levels of
Absolutely,
crime?
yes, totally.
Right. And what you're explaining happened does not reach any felony crime that I'm aware of, especially not the terroristic threats.
Okay, so if I drive around and I decided to project the sound of automatic rifle gunfire at anyone, that's okay.
I mean, what crime would you be violating?
I mean, that wouldn't be considered at the very least disturbing the peace.
Half the music most people play these days is disturbing.
That's an interesting distinction that in a nation with a mass shooter problem, that you would equate driving around projecting the sound of automatic gunfire with loud music.
Well, I don't create the laws. I'm only.
It doesn't even sound like you follow the laws. I think we're at an impasse here, and if you're not going to let me speak to the chief, I will speak to him on my own terms. You may not think it's a crime, but that's really a sad commentary on the Roseburg PD, that someone can go around pretending to be an active shooter and that you're totally fine with that. Oh, it's just the same as loud music, ma'am. No, it's not the same. People feared for their lives, but you clearly don't care. So I get it, Sergeant Inda. I've got it on record. I've been recording this entire thing. Thank you so much for not helping. And I will call the chief. And if I have to, I'll call the Oregon State Police. Thank you so much for nothing.
I don't know about you, but for me, it was incredibly frustrating to watch that exchange. I don't know how the behavior described in that video, where there are dozens of witnesses, that the officer is immediately discounting. It seemed to me like he was looking for ways to not investigate. He had preconceived notions. He had drawn conclusions in advance. He, as a police officer, his job is to collect the evidence, and yet he was deciding, without having examined the evidence, much less interviewing dozens of witnesses, he decided in advance that those witnesses were not credible and that there was insufficient evidence. He also was deciding what kinds of crimes might potentially fit, instead of collecting the evidence and letting the district attorney decide what charges, if any, might be appropriate. Just incredibly frustrating to see that from law enforcement. Incredibly disheartening to see how dismissive they were. I, for one, again, like, I'm not an attorney, but I don't know how that conduct did not rise to the measure of Oregon Statute 163.190, which is menacing, which, let me just read straight from the statute to you. A person commits the crime of menacing if by word or conduct the person intentionally attempts to place another person in fear of imminent serious physical injury. At a crowded protest, how is somebody driving by in their coal roller playing a recording of gunfire not placing another person in fear of imminent serious physical injury? How is simulating a active shooter scenario in front of a group of peaceful pro-democracy protesters in the current environment that we're in, where violence is encouraged, where we are seeing lawlessness, where we are seeing increased brutality, where we are seeing white supremacy and fascism enabled? How is that not menacing? I don't know how it's not something that is worth investigating. Okay, thank you for watching all of that. I don't know if it made your blood boil as much as it made mine. Please share this with folks who are attorneys who may be able to offer legal support and advice to the folks in Douglas County, Indivisible. Also, again, if you want to contact them, if you want to support them, I made a donation after. I don't know if they're going to have legal fees. I don't know what is coming up next for them. Maybe they just want to add walkie-talkies and extra material supplies for their safety team. Consider making a donation to that group. They are fighting for democracy, advocating for the constitutional rights of all Americans in a part of the country where it's real rough. It's real rough to stand visibly in opposition to what the Trump regime is doing. So thank you for watching. Really disheartening, but not unexpected to see that law enforcement would have that kind of reaction. And maybe with public pressure, or maybe with some great legal advice, they can encourage law enforcement to do their job and to serve and protect, to help make sure that folks expressing their constitutional rights are kept safe from incidents like this, where somebody is essentially shouting fire in a crowded theater. And thanks again for watching. Please reach out to Douglas County Indivisible with your donations, your support, your legal advice, if that is appropriate for you. Thanks.